Hello and welcome in to another episode of Rolling with My Special Friends. Today we've got two characters that have been with us before, but we want to bring them back and let them tell their story as a group. We've got the famous wheelchair dad, social media influencer that everybody wants to be able to see and look into his life, as well as the young lady that's with him that's put this all together behind the scenes. They've been married for 6 years, got 6 kids, and are just doing this most amazing thing by pushing and inspiring people all across the country. And we wanted to bring them again and be able to tell them that story. So how are you guys doing today?
We just had our 8-year anniversary this past week. So
yeah, it's been crazy.
8 years. All right. So for everybody that's a first time listener on this thing, I know we've had Dan on before, but Dan, tell us real quick exactly what happened to you for your accident.
9 years ago, or a little over 9 years ago, I was working on a construction of a home. We were setting the trusses for the roof of the house. It was a residential job, and while I was up on the top of the trusses, some bracing gave loose down below that was supposed to be keeping it solid, and it rolled the stack of trusses, like big triangle framing, just rolled like dominoes. And at the time I was about 30 or 35 feet up from the cement floor. And then that just, when I felt the trusses start to sway, and I just vaguely remember taking a couple of steps and just before it went lights out and collapsed.
Now tell everybody also, kind of describe the injury a little bit. Are you a spinal cord complete, incomplete?
So the injury is on that fall. So I am considered an L1 incomplete, so about my belly button level. The injuries I sustained when I had that accident is I cracked my C1 vertebrae, which is up at the very top. And then I had a hammer on my tool belt, which for years when I did construction, I would sling it in my tool belt behind my back, like pretty much right down the center of my spine area. But when I fell and landed on that impact exploded that L1 vertebrae. So I had the L1, it's called a burst fracture. It just exploded. And then I broke my S2, 3, and 4 through my sacrum, and broke my pelvis into three different pieces, and collapsed my left lung and tore my spleen. So with the spinal cord injury, it's incomplete. I do have different levels of movement and sensation here and there, but
for everybody that follows you really close too, I've seen a lot of things on your social media posting and everything about this nerve pain. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how you deal with that every day?
So part of the trauma on the accident, combination of that, and then the various surgeries, whatever the culmination of all of that had started a condition in my spinal cord called adhesive arachnoiditis, which is scarring of the spinal cord. Normally your spinal cord just kind of floats in the fluid and it's supposed to be nice and just free flowing, and mine is clumped together, and then it's attached to the sidewall and inside the spinal cord. And it's just a incredibly painful condition. It's like on the rare disorder and disease list. It's not tracked or followed or studied much, so there's not a whole lot of info on treating it, and it's just trying to manage pain on it. Really, it's just as far as we know so far, there isn't any cure or any way to stop it. Bending, twisting, and lifting. Bending, lifting, and twisting. All of that kind of movement aggravates it, but
which isn't good for the type of go-getter he is. But he does it. He says the pain is worth it, so he's not going to stop and just sit there.
Yeah, definitely my headspace. I would lose it if I just had to sit around and not do.
Well, and as everybody can see, the motivation on your shirt there to punch today in the face, that pretty well sums it up. On what you're describing there within that spinal cord, is that, I don't know if you ever heard the term before, a tethered cord where they're stuck to the side. Is that what you kind of got going on?
A little bit. So yeah, I actually at one point did my neurosurgeon had tried to do a detethering surgery when the first set of doctors noticed that there was a clump in there. They thought that they'd be able to go in and free that up with that standard detethering surgery, which is, I guess, quite common. My neurosurgeon said that he does, a handful of them every week, and that he's successful with them. And when he tried to do my surgery, he was there when I woke up, and he was really frustrated, and he put it all out there, and he says, "Man, you know what? In my 30-year career, I've never seen anything like what is in there." He's like, I couldn't do anything with what was there without causing more damage. When you go into a surgery like that, they'll put probes, like different parts of your body, to be able to tell if they're triggering any other nerves. Well, I guess while they're doing that, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And from the explanation that he gave me, he just wasn't able to do very much without setting off more trauma and triggering more things, which was a downfall on that procedure. It ended up actually aggravating the right hand side of my body more, where before it was pretty much just the left side only.
Well, and that's also, part of, I guess, everyday life that comes with these injuries, as well as like what you said. You're almost in a position to where if you sit around and do nothing, you just kind of fade away. But also at the same time, if you're out there working hard, you're going to overwork parts and disc and all of the things in that back because it's doing so much work. So it's amazing, like I said, to follow the story and be able to see what you work through every day with that pain, and how it seems to just come on all of a sudden sometimes too, and really be demoralizing as far as, you can't do anything until that pain passes.
Yeah. The treatment that we've done so far kind of, well, it has brought it down to where it's a lot less, and my pain doesn't trigger as frequently or as intensely in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it used to be when it would come on, anywhere, I would be at the grocery store and have to like just stop and grab the shelf and just like shake, or the cart, and my kids, they're all just used to it, and they just kind of ignore it and keep pissing each other off. And people walking by would be like, "Oh my gosh, do I need to call somebody?" And my kids, they were all trained, and I'm like, "No, it's fine, you'll be good in a minute." It was like I looked like a carnival, rolling carnival or something. I had
Like
all the kids, and then I had my dog, my service dog at the time, um trucking along too. So it was like a man,
and then looking like you're having a seizure in the middle of the store, and the
Yeah.
kids are just hanging out.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Now, obviously, everybody can see your pain reliever sitting over there beside you. So we kind of want to know a little bit about her story, and tell us, from that transition of you going through these injuries and everything, how you ran into her.
Part of my post-hospital treatment was therapy. I dedicated the first year, or a little over a year, to just every day I was going to do physical therapy to see if I could regain anything. I was bound and determined to walk. I was like, man, I'm not going to let this beat me. And thought that just with my desire, my steadfast desire, I was going to push it through and make it happen. But while I was doing therapy every day, it was at a outpatient therapy facility that Andrea was also taking her now ex-husband to at the same time. So we kind of met.
Dan,
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you smooth it out.
So Dan's accident was on August 7th in 2013. And I was married at the time. My now ex-husband, he had a bullet bike accident on August 6th. So he has a severe traumatic brain injury. He's currently the mental capacity of about a 7-year-old. And I was taking care of him. He was in a coma for a couple months, and I was taking care of him. And through the course of the therapy, I had, you meet all kinds of different people that are there going through trauma situations, that have been in accidents. Like, you don't really realize until you're in a situation like that the ICU and the trauma centers are never empty. Like, you don't realize how many people are going through something at any given moment in your area. And so I had seen Dan in passing through the therapy. They were both kind of at the same hospital doing their inpatient therapy. And through the course of being at therapy kind of the same times and same days every week, we became friends, and then kind of understood what each other were going through. We both had kind of lost everything and had our lives completely pulled out from under us. And so we became friends. And at the time, my ex-husband couldn't even really talk or walk or do anything. He was having to relearn everything. But through the course of me taking care of my ex-husband and everything that played out there, eventually I had made the decision to separate from him. And then later on, Dan and I found each other and found solace in each other and found comfort and love and understanding and empathy and what we needed. It's important for me to mention that prior to my ex-husband's accident, we were in a very toxic relationship, and things were really toxic with our relationship. So when an accident like that happens, you kind of forget, let go of everything, and survival is like the main point. But as things slow down and he came back home, and it was hard in and of itself. He didn't remember our home or remember our life together in the 4 years that we had been married at that point, and would call me his ex-wife's name and different things. But I had found out some information after we got home that led me to know that even before his accident, things weren't as I thought they were. So it became a really hard situation for me. And I knew that my kids would lose their mom as well as their dad if I stuck around in that situation. I have MS. I knew that physically and emotionally at that point, I just wouldn't be able to be there for my kids. And then I knew that my ex-husband would be good with or without me. So I had to make that excruciatingly painful decision to separate that and let somebody else take care of him. But
if I can just add to, where his mom had stepped in after seeing the struggle and the burden that the situation was, where his mom came in and actually had offered to take him back home when she could see that there was a developing problem in the way that things were setting up.
So he was able to go live with his family, and I moved with my kiddos, and then Dan and I became better friends eventually, and we felt like we were kind of in the same place in the same time, same place, and God kind of orchestrated our lives so that we could be here. And he had a much bigger plan for our lives. At the time, it was really hard to see. We had both just lost everything, and it was like, what's happening here? What are our lives going to turn out? This is not my plan. This wasn't his plan. So over the course of the last 9 years, it's become very apparent why we needed to be together, and the bigger plan that God had in store for not just us, but for our kids. So it's been a beautiful unfolding that came out of major tragedy.
Well, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about the story as well. You guys, have got it together, that where it's coming from. It's not just something that was thrown out there in the middle of the air. There's a reason for you two to be together. there's a reason that you guys are influencing so many people on social media every day, because they love the story and they love seeing what's going on. And to dig into that a little deeper, I want to know, obviously in any relationship, able-bodied relationships, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, there's, like you said, in previous relationship, things that are toxic. What I really want to know, and I know this audience wants to know as well, some of the things that you guys deal with as a couple of one using a chair, one not. What kind of things does that present as problems with 6 kids and mobility and moving around and going to buy groceries and doing the everyday activities?
So one of the things I had mentioned to you on text that has been a topic of conversation lately is just even something so simple as hugging that you take for granted when you're both standing up. It really creates a challenge because I think in a relationship, it's important to have like regular physical contact. And when Dan's sitting in a chair and I'm standing, walking around, doing my daily tasks, it's hard to just have a situation where we can just like pull each other into a hug and just like regroup as a couple, reconnect. And so we've been talking lately, trying to figure out like we need to be better at adapting and finding ways to connect physically like throughout the day so that we're not just passing in the night with all of our 6 kids. It gets pretty chaotic and stressful and busy around here. And so it's really easy to get disconnected as a couple. And so we've found ways, like one of the ways, we have a really big van. And when Dan's sitting up in the driver's seat and I'm standing on ground level, like I'm at the level where I can like lay my head on his chest and wrap my arms around him. And it feels like a normal embrace as if we were both standing. I'm kind of at the height that I would be if he were standing upright. So like, it feels so good to be able to hug and feel that connection. So like, usually what I do is I'll sit on his lap and hug him, but then my head's like clear up here. And then if I try and like lay down, then like my neck's all creaked and just in a bad position. So yeah, we discussed actually yesterday that, if I sit on a chair actually and like turn towards him, we're kind of at a better level too. So like last night I made it a point to pull a kitchen chair over and sit down on it so that Dan could come over and we could just hug for a minute and regroup and amidst all the chaos. So something so simple as that you wouldn't think about is sometimes difficult with a interabled couple.
Yeah, for sure. I know that's like the physical touch and communication is a big deal. It's always been a way I communicate too, like being able to be physical just helps, pull unity, helps you pull closer and, resets for a second. So, Andrea's a tall girl. She's pretty tall, 5'8 3/4". She's tall. So yeah, when she sits on my lap, she's, that makes it all awkward and uncomfortable for her a little bit to, like put her head on my shoulder, feel like we're in a good spot there. But that's just a simple little thing. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. As far as like running errands or grocery shopping or anything like that, it's, there's an added thing to it where when we're together, I have to load Dan's chair into the back of our car. And then we live in Utah. So in the winter time, it's not warm outside. It's very cold. And so I have to go around and stand and wait for him to get out of his chair and into the car so I can take his chair and load it into the car. And then on the flip side, when we get to where we're going, unload his car and then stand there and wait for him to get out and adjust. And it takes several minutes sometimes of standing in the cold and doing that, which for me, I don't mind it. Obviously, like I love Dan and I would do anything that he needs to help. I think it's more of a burden for him. He hates having to rely on me. He hates having to put that stress on my body. He hates that I have to physically load his chair and things like that. So I think that's harder for him than it is for me. But there's lots of stuff. It takes a lot of patience because everything, when he's doing projects or running an errand or doing anything, it takes more time than it would if he was walking or able to speed walk through a store or something and just pick up everything that he needed to. But yeah, just different things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The time it takes is immense. Like, geez, we'll get home from grocery shopping, and by the time it takes me to get like if I drove and loaded my own chair and had kids helping to load or unload, by the time I get my chair all set up and out, like they've been in and out of the house half a dozen times and have the car pretty much unloaded before I'm even able to go pick up one thing. So.
Yeah. Sometimes we have it all unloaded and we're all like sitting down watching TV already by the time it makes it in the house.
Like, gosh dang, man.
Well, so if it's kind of an adapt and overcome thing to where you've learned to adapt now to the how this process will work. Is it seeming like in the same of what we were talking about? I know you get frustrated about how you want to do more and be able to do more. Are there other areas for, people out there listening that you try to make up the slack, I would call it, or make up the disadvantage where maybe other things you try to do more?
With parenting and stuff at home, like I definitely try to feel like pick up the extra pieces of burden, I guess, like any nighttime stuff. I'm up throughout the night a lot of times with just my nerve pain alone, but like I've always from day one, if the kids wake up during the night, like I'm always the one, I'll be up with them, taking care of them, doing whatever it is that they need, and be with them multiple times or all through the night, whatever it takes, and do that so that Andrea with her MS, she's able to recoup and get strengthened, and also I do have the availability to be there for the kids no matter what the reason is. If they're up all night puking and sick and or whatever, and then I don't have I'm not heading to a job in the morning, so my patience is pretty thick. So I'm just feeling and give that's probably one of the most obvious things that the kids know, that any nighttime stuff, Dad's going to be there for it. So
most of the time Dan does all the laundry and everything too. But we work really well as a team between his situation and my MS. Like we work really well as a team, picking up the slack when the other one's having a hard time, or seeing that he's up all night every night because he knows that if I am sleep deprived with my MS, then I'm not going to be functioning like I need to physically. And so he picks up the slack where he needs to, and vice versa. So
now, and that's a piece of the story that most people have not heard of yet, is tell us what MS is and how it affects you.
So MS is a inflammatory disease, incurable, and it just kind of attacks your system, like your immune system attacks itself. So it can manifest in a million different ways, randomly, whatever. There's one point in my life where I, like every few minutes, I would like lose the function of my left leg and it would just kind of disappear out from under me. And like, if I didn't know better, it felt like I didn't have a leg, and it would just disappear for like 15 seconds and then come back. There's been times where I've had lots of tingling sensations down my spine. And there was a time when I almost lost the vision in my left eye just because my optic nerve got so inflamed that it just was like fuzzed over my vision. And over a few months, it slowly came back almost to normal. I have relapsing remitting MS. So when I have something happen, like it usually happens, I have kind of a exacerbation of symptoms, and then it will come back almost to normal, but there's always some residual that just doesn't feel right after forevermore. So my biggest issue that I've had with MS is fatigue, and that's brought on by if I get like definitely if I have a lack of sleep.
What I need to know now is really, since you guys have described to us about this, relationship and how you met and everything, give us a little bit more details. Tell me the ages of you two.
I'm 45. Gosh, that's hard to say. I'm a guy. I don't know why I hate it. I feel like I'm like in my 20s, but.
And I'm 41.
41. Okay. So now to break that down even more, I know you two are obviously compatible and all this thing came together. Let's talk separately and tell me each of you's hobbies, something you would like to do outside of, being together, something that may be fun.
Go ahead, ladies first.
So I love to do like interior decoration, anything like that. Organizing, setting up rooms, different things like that in our home. What I would really love to do is play volleyball. That is my favorite thing to do. I played volleyball when I was in high school, and I lived in Germany on an Air Force base and was on the all European volleyball team. And like, I just loved it. Physically, that's not like every time I try and play, my MS acts up, which is super frustrating. But that's what I would love to do. But other than that, I don't know, man, with 6 kids and a husband, and you kind of forget who you are sometimes and lose yourself in all that. You get so busy. So as far as hobbies, honestly, I don't have any current hobbies outside of the home. I'm just busy all the time with my family, so which I love. So
Before
that's
that, what would your hobby have been?
Everybody else is curious too. We want to know what you guys are like on the inside. Everybody gets to see the videos that get put up every day. But so tell us, Dan, what if your hobbies, if you had a little extra spare time, what do you do?
I like to, I've always liked working on projects like anything with a motor in it. I like working on like cars and motorcycles and boats and like just anything that's cool and burns gas. That's always kind of been a fun thing to do. I like building and fixing things. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was one of those little pain kicks that tries to come in. Anyways, yeah, I like working on cars has always kind of been my self-learned joy.
Yeah, they say that everybody has something in them that they truly was put inside of them to do, that God gave you, that you would do it for free if somebody, you could still make a living doing it. And that's what I was kind of asking. It sounds like you have a love for things with motors, that it could put your mind at ease and you wouldn't have to worry about stress a lot if you could play with motors all day.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's like a cool hobby.
That or working out at the gym, which
that's probably
still able to do, which is good.
Yeah, that as far as my headspace goes, that's probably my number one place to be. It's not as physically rewarding as it once was, but definitely mentally rewarding in a lot of ways when I get there. So
now, okay, let's unpack this box a little bit more too. We got 6 kids involved in this thing. What do we love to do as a couple with the kids? What the kids got going on?
As a mom right now, like my ultimate favorite thing to do is to watch our 10-year-old son play soccer. Like, I love sports, and he's a little athlete, and it is so fun. He's 10, and he's like, there's been games of his soccer where he's scored 8 goals in one game, and like, he's just a little firecracker out on the field. So I love watching him. But as far as a family doing stuff together as a family, my favorite thing is just to sit down and be snuggling with the kids and watching a TV show series or watching a movie. And we like to, like, the kids like to lay out a blanket on the living room floor and have a picnic on the living room floor while we watch movies. Or that's kind of what we spent our Thanksgiving break doing. We got the kids all these snuggly blanket pajamas.
But the other thing I'd like to add in there that we like to do is as a family, I guess, is like traveling has always been something that's super cool for
camping.
All of our kids. They travel whatever if it's like 20 hours in the car, they're game for it, and they do really good. And they are excited with whatever adventure we're headed out on, and they really appreciate um, the destination. So that's one thing that we all come together on, and it's fun. They drop all the electronics without a heart, without any problem, and
Yeah.
they're all in for the ride. So it's fun. I love that.
Yeah. So if you've seen our camper remodel videos this past year, we spent remodeling a camper. And so last summer we were able to take lots of trips as a family, and it was just amazing. I did not want summer to end. We had to winterize our camper before the snow came a few weeks ago, and it was sad.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that's a great piece of this story too, because these kids are getting such great life experience for when they get older as adults. They're going to be great human beings of having to seen what you guys go through every day.
Yeah.
They don't appreciate it now. If you ask some of our kids on some days, that we're the worst parents in the world and they want to run away. So it's not always perfect around here. Do you want to sit with Marty?
I know when I had my accident, I was doing that year of physical therapy. I was to back it up a little bit, my divorce from the girl's mom finalized while I was in the hospital, recovering from the accident, and knew I was a single dad. And when I got out of the hospital on the days that I would go to therapy, which was Monday through Friday, and anytime I had my girls, which was 50-50 on our custody agreement, I would take them I would take them to physical therapy with me so that they could learn and integrate and be a part of all that adapting to. And it was really, I think that was like just a happenstance byproduct, but as I saw it transitioning and working well for them, like it was on purpose to see the connection and that little change in their demeanors, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what I think is really cool too, for them to be able to experience both sides of the coin here. And then, obviously as they get older, they're going to be presented with challenges in life, and for them to be able to see what you guys go through every day, those challenges ought to be, minuscule to them once they get to that point in life of trying to make their own way in life. Now, as we love to do on this podcast, we love to, on each show, throw in a funny story. I personally know of a story you guys were telling me about taking a flight and losing a chair. Can you fill us in the rest of that story?
You want to? I'll let Andrea just share.
So I used to work for an airline company, which we were super thankful for when it came time with all of Dan's crazy nerve pain with his adhesive arachnoiditis. It was extremely difficult to find a doctor that even knew what it was, let alone treated it or knew how to treat it. It's something that's very difficult to treat. We finally found a doctor in California, and again, we live in Utah. And this doctor, because Dan had such an extreme case of this disorder, he was interested in treating him, and so he allowed us to be one of his patients, which meant that every month or every couple months we had to fly out to California to see him and to get Dan treated. So I was super thankful at the time that I had a job with an airline to where we could fly for free. That made it, it was such a blessing. But one particular time when we went, we left, our flight was meant to land, I think around 10 p.m. at night or something like that. And then our doctor's appointment was the next day at 1 o'clock or something. Well, we, as they do, you get on the plane and then they take your chair away and they put it in the belly of the plane. And then when you get to the other end, they bring it to the door. Well, when we got to the other end in California, Dan's wheelchair was nowhere to be found. And so we were stuck on the plane for a while. And then lots of people had to go back and forth, and it was at night. And so a lot of people had gone home from work or whatever. But in the end, they realized that somebody had left it on the tarmac or whatever.
Yeah.
And then somebody had taken it from the tarmac to the lost and found or customer service or something, hadn't put any notes on it or anything. They just took it and dropped it there. So nobody even knew who it belonged to. And And so Dan was here, and we were landing in Long Beach, which, if you know, that's a teeny tiny little airport with smaller staff. And that time of night, pretty much every airline's area was shut down. And they couldn't even, for like 45 minutes, they couldn't even find like a chair that they would normally like transport somebody from like their car to the airplane in or whatever. And so Dan, it was a very, very vulnerable situation. I think for the first time since Dan was paralyzed, he just felt so helpless and so stuck. And it was really hard to watch him in that. I mean, basically they parked him. He transferred to a chair in a waiting area in the airport, and he was literally stuck there. I mean, best he could have done was like transferred off the chair onto the floor and scooted somewhere. But like, it was a very hard situation to be in. And I mean, the chair was back in Utah. It was not close by. And for me, like traveling together, how I said I helped load his chair in the car when we're together. Well, the only chair that they ended up being able to find us was like this big, bulky thing that's like, it's not something I can lift. It's not something that, excuse me, is like transportable. So eventually we made it to a hotel, and they had kind of like one of those, like a hospital generic wheelchair that was like super wide. Yeah. It wasn't something that Dan could maneuver himself. And something that people probably don't think about is that Dan's wheelchair is very custom fit to his body. Even down to the foot plate being at a perfect angle so that his feet don't slide off as he moves. Because if he's trying to roll in like a regular hospital wheelchair, he can't control his legs. He can't hold his feet up. He can't do any of that. So his feet are just dragging on the floor. So his wheelchair that's custom fit for him makes sure that his feet stay in the right position, that they're not just flopping all over the place as he's trying to transport himself around. So it wasn't until the next day at 4 p.m. that they finally showed up at our hotel with his wheelchair. So thankfully our doctor was willing to work with us and reschedule our appointment. But man, that was so what would that have been? I don't know, like 18 hours or something that he was like, we pretty much were stuck in the hotel, chilled on the hotel bed that whole day and just watched TV. And I mean, to get up and try and use the bathroom, like the hotel wheelchair they gave us wouldn't fit through the bathroom. Yeah, like it was huge. Just, I mean, it affects everything. And I think it was a real eye opener for us to realize, like, man, this wheelchair is a blessing and a tool, and without it,
it's a big deal.
Stuck.
Yeah, that is one of those things that's amazing that, whoever that was invented that thing years ago for it to be a customized, how much a big of a difference it made. Now, to, everybody out there listening as well, there's a lot of people that follow you guys on the social media. So can you tell us, followers and people that are listening that are not followers, how do we reach out to you? Where are you? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok? Tell us all the locations.
So we are on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Those three platforms. You can
a little bit on Facebook.
Yeah, a little bit on Facebook, and you can go to our landing page at thewheelchairdad.com, and it'll have all of our links, anything that we post on or use and do is all there. So it's easy to navigate and see what would work out to adapt into your life and bring us in. So
yeah, so it's thewheelchairdad.com, and links to all of our social media. You can also get links to our merch page, which this is our merch, Punch Today in the Face. So far, this is the line we have, and we'll be coming out with more soon. So
okay, so all of that can be purchased on that site?
There's a link to click to where you can purchase it.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. And then I think we talked earlier about a membership thing. Is that ready where you can promote that a little bit?
Yeah. So currently we just got I guess, the access with YouTube and Instagram to allow memberships on our pages. So what that allows us to do is spend a little bit of extra time creating extra content and doing extra lives and answering comments of those that sign up. It's $2.99 a month. Also allows our family a way to have a little bit of income, since we are spending so much time creating content. It's become a full-time job. So we're definitely trying to figure out how we can keep putting our information out there, keep helping people, keep providing this hope and this good content, and still being able to support our family. So it does allow us to do that. Helps us out a little bit that way. But we are doing a weekly live that's exclusive to those who sign up. So on YouTube, you just have to go to our main channel page and click the join button. On Instagram, you go to our main page and click subscribe, and that will allow you to do that. It's just a month-to-month thing. You can cancel at any time, or for those that don't sign up, our content will all stay the same. You just get kind of bonus stuff if you sign up for that. So
I got you. Well, that makes pretty good avenues for people to reach out and see even more. I mean, I know you guys already do a great job of putting a lot of stuff out there.
It's fun for us because we do have so many comments and so many people reaching out to us these days that it allows us to really like get to know some of our viewers. Yeah. So like we know a lot of them by name now because their comments stand out every time they comment. And, you know, people that subscribe are typically people that watch us every day. And so, yeah, we're able to have like actual personal one-on-one contact with people. That way it just helps us to get to know some people on a more personal level. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been trying to run more lives and stuff just randomly through the day on different things too. And it's the same thing. Those, some of those same people just are always there. So it's like, hey, it's like just a big extended family. And it kind of feels like we've got extra moms and dads and sisters and brothers, and the kids have extra aunts and uncles, and
well, kind of crazy. So. And that's what it's great too, that I enjoy watching, you know, from a distance of you guys and your followers that you have. That ought to show you, if anything does, a mark that you're leaving on people, that they want to be part of your life, and they're learning so much from you. You're learning from them, and it's exactly what you said. It's a great big family you guys have created. And it's just a testament to the, like we said, the content and the things you're putting out. You're showing people who you are and being vulnerable. That a lot of times people don't want to be. They don't want to put themselves out there, but you guys do it, and it's helping a lot of people overcome things in their life. And as both of you know of being listening to the podcast before and being on with us, we love to do a signature series question at the end, that if we were to write a book, and this time it's going to be about you guys, if we were going to write a book and today everything was over for you and one of your kids was going to write your story, what would you hope that all of us got to read in that book that came out about you two and your influence on others?
I think it's important for our kids to understand, like, that we've gone through a lot of struggles, and we've tried to create, with the help of God, like beauty from ashes. And that you can, even when you're in the midst of your own hard things and day-to-day mundane or tragedies or anything, you can help other people. And I think it's really important to be vulnerable. Like you said, people hear and see our story. We have people reach out to us all the time that just thank us for that vulnerability, because it allows them to feel human and to feel validated and to feel like they're not alone in the world. And so I don't know, I would just want our kids to know that we were a couple that have been through hard things, that have fought hard to stay on top and to be helpful to people and to our family, and to just mostly, you know, keep God at the forefront and let him guide our lives where they're meant to be. So
yeah, I agree. I think that all sounds really good. Leave it at that. I don't want to ruin her book.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's what I'm waiting on as well, because I know you guys are going to obviously after all this content and all these years, you're going to have a great book to be able to write for people to read. And, you know, I just have enjoyed being a follower. I love watching the stories and watching each day that y'all post something and, you know, show you working on the camper or show you working inside. And then like we're getting to hear now in these podcasts of hearing the better half over there and how she kind of is the glue to the operation and help kind of sticks everything together. So, I mean, the story's beautiful. I think it takes both of you to make it work. And it's just amazing to be an observer on the outside looking in.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
Thanks for what you do too. Like, I mean, it's, you know, exceptional to be able to watch some of the different highlights that you do and spend your time doing. It's, you know, man, it's a super honorable thing that you do. It's cool. And we really appreciate that.
Well, we just have, you know, wanted to make a podcast where we highlight people's stories because there's so many people out there overcoming things, doing great things that we don't get to hear a lot of it now. You know, the news media out there wants you to know all the bad. I mean, I think it's time we know some of the good.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome. It's the work you do is great. It's awesome and appreciated. And any of our followers that are watching right now need to make sure you subscribe to Jim.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for coming on, and hopefully here in the next few months to a year or so, we can circle back and see how you guys are doing again. Maybe sit down and have another chat. That sound pretty good?
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds great.
Always up for it.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks everybody for watching today. Go out and like and subscribe us. As the famous wheelchair family has said, you know, check us out, add us to your likes and see what new content, new great stories we got coming out on others. Thank you guys for watching.